I debated is a guy by the name of Benjamin Michael. He's the host of American Orthodoxy. Now, on the show, we got into a discussion on immigration. We got into a discussion on brown people, white people, you name it. And I didn't really post anything on that show until recently, but I did notice a tweet that Benjamin Michael put out. I want to play the video first, where I asked him his thoughts on black people. Watch this. What do you think about black people?
Bro, what do I think about black people?
Yeah, just in general. What do you think?
black people.
I think black people are created in the image of God. And I think that they disproportionately commit violent crime. That's just
So the first thing he brings
Well, in the
up
United
is black
States.
people committing crimes.
No, the first thing was
I
the
brought up
image
was
of
they're
God.
created in the image of God.
Notice how he didn't hear the first thing he said. The first thing he says, they were created in the image of God. And Brian didn't hear any of that until he heard an insult.
Actually,
Yeah.
you just lied about what I said. I said the first thing I said is that they're created in the image of God.
And what was the second thing you said?
Yeah, is it true or false that they disproportionately commit violent crime? Is that a true or false statement?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons for that.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. What
excuses.
Yeah. Socioeconomic.
One would call those excuses.
No. In Chicago, it's because like you insulted them.
No, I'm refuting
no.
because this is what they
I
like
know.
to say. They like
Yeah,
to say it's socioeconomic.
in
What do you think? So he didn't even hear what I had to say. Apparently, I wasn't given the opportunity to do that, and hopefully I'll be able to do that today. So he put that tweet out, and then in that tweet, which I thought was a little bit bizarre, which I will talk to him about, he says, Jewish man Brian Shapiro asked what I think about black people. Now, I got to be honest with you. I've done a lot of shows in 25 years of doing this. Nobody's ever introduced me or said anything to the lines of, Jewish man Brian Shapiro joining us on the show. I thought that was a little strange, so we'll get into that
Yeah, no one ever calls you a man either. So what? He was being nice.
as well. But Benjamin Michael, host of American Orthodoxy, joins us right now on the program. I was supposed to debate Benjamin on Friday. Unfortunately, I had some extremely painful kidney stones, but I'm glad I was able to reschedule for today. Benjamin, good to see you. Thank you for coming on. How are you?
Likewise, I'm well, brother. How about yourself?
Doing better than I was last week. Last week was not a lot of fun, but I am definitely doing a lot better, and I appreciate you coming on. Yeah,
That's
joining
good.
me.
I also want to say I agree with some of the hypocrisy you're pointing out with Nick Shirley, because a similar creator by the name of Tyler Oliveira exposed a lot of welfare fraud in Jewish communities in New York and New Jersey, and he has not gotten nearly the publicity that Nick Shirley gets for the Somali fraud. So I do think
Wonder why.
there is definitely a double standard on the fraud being exposed.
Yeah, just I don't know about that other situation that you were talking about. I can only speak to Nick Shirley, and I think he is an incredible fraud. So I'm glad we agree on that. All right, let me just start with this, and then we'll get into more I think more pertinent topics. Right? Why do you introduce me on Twitter as Jewish man? I just thought that was a little strange.
Well, aren't you a Jewish man?
Well,
I
yeah,
didn't know.
but
I didn't know you were. Are you ashamed of being Jewish?
Why would I say I'm ashamed of it? We were talking in the car on the way to the Tim Pool show, and you asked me about my religion, and what did I tell you?
You said that you're kind of secular. You don't really
I'm not a
abide by
religious
religion.
person.
But
Oh,
you're
so-
ethnically. Are you ethnically Jewish?
Yeah, and I'm not ashamed of it. Why would you
Okay.
think I'm ashamed of it? All I'm simply
Well,
saying is
then why do you have an issue with me saying that you're Jewish? I don't understand.
I think it's very strange because when I introduce people on my show, I've never introduced them by their religion. Nobody has ever done that to me.
Well, it's not just a religion; it's an ethnicity too.
Okay, well, whatever, but I don't introduce people as black man, blah, 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 white man, blah, 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 blah.
You can if you want. I'm not ashamed of being a white man. I'm a white man.
It's not an issue of whether you can or you can't. I never said you couldn't. I'm just saying it's very weird, and I'm trying to figure out why. Why is
I don't
it
think it's
pertinent?
weird.
Okay, but why is that? So that's how you introduce everybody in your life by their
Well,
religion?
identity matters. I think that who you are ethnically, who you are religiously, who you are matters. I think that's relevant to conversations. It helps people understand historical background,
Okay, well,
context.
I don't think it's relevant. I don't think it's relevant to any of my
Okay.
opinions on anything. I'm
Yeah.
anti-Israeli government. I don't go to synagogue. I'm not a religious person, which you know. We had that conversation. So I just thought it'd be one thing if I was like a really religious person and I based all my opinions on my religious background, then I would agree with you. Then I think it's that important. But you know that's the opposite of who I am. So all I'm saying is I thought that was extremely.
I will disagree with Brian here. He bases most of his debating around his woke ideology. He doesn't see it as an ideology, but it is. If you believe all the bullshit that you learn from woke teachers, then you have an ideology. That's plain and simple.
Weird, and it's not pertinent to the conversation. And I've never been, you're the first person, Ben. I've done probably 1,000 different shows. on every platform imaginable, from TV networks to social media. Nobody's ever introduced me as Jewish man Brian Shapiro. You know how they introduced me? Brian Shapiro, host of Pushing the Limits, political commentator. So you have the right to introduce me as Jewish man. All I'm saying is,
My headlines usually say woke idiot, so I go with the other ideology he worships.
when I saw that on Twitter, I thought it was really weird. No one's ever introduced me like that, and you have the right to do it. I just thought it was very bizarre. That's all.
I would never be offended if someone introduced me as a white man. I would never be offended by that.
I'm just saying it's weird.
I wouldn't think it's weird either. I wouldn't think it's weird if someone introduced me as a white
You're
man.
the only. All right, take it for what it's worth. You're the only person that's ever introduced me as that. And then on your Twitter account, which I know that you're not responsible for all the people or your fans that make comments. They're calling me Jew boy. They're making anti-Semitic comments, and I think that's wrong. That's wrong. And these are some of your followers on Twitter. Am I responsible for every single one of my fans and everything that one of my fans says? Absolutely not. And I'm not saying you are either. Would you also call that out?
I agree that I'm not responsible for my fans say. Yes,
Do you think
I agree
that's
with
wrong for people calling me Jew boy and making anti-Semitic comments on your social media page? People that follow you. Are you?
I mean,
willing to call that out?
people can do what they want. I don't know.
I didn't say that it wasn't allowed. I didn't say that people can't do what they want.
I wouldn't do it. I personally wouldn't do it.
Will you call out people that are attacking people based on their religion? In this case, me personally, calling me Jew boy and making anti-Semitic comments underneath your comment.
But you just said you're not a religious Jew. So is it based on your religion or what? I'm confused.
It's based on people making horrible statements about me based on a religion that I am in, even though I'm not a religious person. That's academic. Will you call out and will you condemn anybody on your social media platform? And there are plenty of them that are fans of yours that follow you that are calling me Jew boy, among other things. Will you call that out now?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally do it.
I know you wouldn't personally do it, but why won't you call it out? Why don't you say that's wrong?
I can't speak for other people. I can just say that I wouldn't do it. What else do you want me to say? I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Just like I also wouldn't abide by a religion that believes that my race is superior, which Judaism does. That's what the Talmud teaches.
I'm not a religious person.
I know. I'm just saying.
Just so you'll know, that's him saying that. I don't need another strike here. I'm not going to say it because I get strikes for it. So I'm going to just look at him and not comment on that.
I'm just saying I wouldn't abide, and good on you for not abiding by that religion. I wouldn't abide by that religion.
You asked me a question. What do you want me to say? Here's something that I think is a very normal thing to say, which you're not willing to say. While you're saying I wouldn't do it, if somebody made a statement about you or any religious person that I had on this show and made an anti-Semitic remark or attacked somebody because of race or religion, I would immediately not just say I wouldn't do it.
Can you define anti-Semitic remark?
When somebody calls me Jew boy, I think we all could probably agree that's probably not a very nice. You're attacking me because of my religion, and I would say, hey, that's wrong. I disavow anybody who talks like that to other people.
I'm over 50 years old, and I still get called white boy when I go around black people. Are they racist? Are they racist for calling me that, or are they just pointing out that I'm white and not black like everyone else around me?
Well, I think it's wrong. Why won't you say that? That's very strange.
I'm just saying I wouldn't do it. I don't see. That's what I'm going to say. Dude. Like,
so you won't disavow others that do it. I think that's very telling.
I don't really. I mean, as a Christian, I don't really believe in harassment. So if they were harassing you, I would condemn that. I don't believe in harassment.
Okay. That's all I wanted to hear you say. Okay, we got to that point. All right, fair enough.
You heard that, fellas. Stop harassing the YouTuber. He doesn't like it.
Let's talk about the question that I asked you about what you think about black people. You made a thing about, they're children of God or something like that. Okay, fine. And then you immediately went to crime. Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, it's a political show. So
because you asked him, what do you think about black people? And that's what he thought. So that's why he told you that. That's how it works. When you ask people what they think, sometimes they tell you what they think.
Obviously, we're going to be bringing up politically relevant topics. And something that is unique about black people is that they disproportionately commit violent crime. That's just objectively true. I don't understand what's the issue with that.
Are you aware with what the National Registry of Exonerations has said about that?
Yeah. Do you know that's a tiny fraction of the amount of crimes committed. It's a fraction of a fraction. It's a tiny amount of the crimes committed.
What did it say in there? You said you're aware of it. What did it say?
Yeah, blacks are overrepresented in exonerations. That is true. But again, we're talking about a fraction of the crimes. It's barely even relevant to the amount of crimes that are committed.
to you it's not relevant, but do you know exactly?
No, it's not relevant statistically. It's not relevant
Okay.
statistically.
Well, so
it is a tiny minority.
Brian is trying to misunderstand him here. It is obviously inconsequential, the number of people who are like found to not be guilty, because it's like a couple of hundred a year, a couple of thousand a year at the most. And you're talking about the entirety of crime in America. That's quite a bit more than a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand, right? You're talking about millions and millions of crimes. So yeah, that really doesn't make much of a difference, does it?
Of the crimes result in exonerations. So we're talking about a fraction of a fraction. It's not even relevant statistically.
What's the fraction? Tell me, how many people?
I don't know off the top of my head. I just know it's a fraction of the amount of crimes that are
You're
committed.
claiming it's a fraction, yet you don't know how many people they took, and you don't have a number.
No, that's you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm saying the amount of exonerations in general is a tiny amount that it's not even statistically relevant.
All right, so let me tell you exactly what they said verbatim. The National Registry of Exonerations notes that Black Americans are roughly 7.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder and about 8 times more likely to be falsely convicted of rape compared to white individuals. Also, socioeconomic disparities. A large portion of these disparities correlates with socioeconomic status, as Black populations are historically, as you know, impacted more by underfunded communities and poverty. We could also go into systemic bias, and I can get into that as well. I disagree with you. I don't think any of this stuff is meaningless. I think this stuff is actually—
I didn't say it was meaningless.
Well, I
said,
listen, the second thing that you brought up.
So since by the way, I just had to double check here. Since 1989, there's been a total of 3,500 exonerations since 1989. That's how statistically irrelevant exonerations are. So this is such a moot talking point that people bring up to deflect from blatant disproportional violent crime being committed by them.
I actually don't think it's disproportionate at all. I think it's actually a very important topic to discuss. Do you think
it's like 100 a year, a couple hundred a year? What is he talking about? A couple thousand. 1,000 a year over the entirety of all of crime in America. That's very inconsequential. That really doesn't move the needle much, does it? When you're talking about, say, 2 million crimes of a certain particular type occur in a year, and 1,000 people are falsely accused. How many white people are falsely accused too? It's inconsequential to what we're talking about.
Black people are treated the same as white people based on our justice system? Do you think? In general,
I would say that a lot of times you have white people that are treated more poorly. Like, for example, in the example
That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you about white people. Please pay attention to my question. Do you think Black people are treated fairly as a whole in our justice system?
How can you determine what's fair if you can't determine what other people are treated like? Brian's question, he's arguing with what he's saying, but he's actually trying to talk to him about it. If white people are also treated poorly, then how can you say that Black people are treated poorly if they're treated the exact same? It's like he doesn't even understand. He just wants to hear what he wants to hear. And when you don't give it to him, he's going to yell at you. That's what he's doing.
The question wasn't about white people.
I think the justice system has major flaws. I think the justice system has major flaws. So, I mean, I think it's unfair towards white people in certain contexts. I think it can be probably unfair towards Black people in certain contexts. That's true to an extent.
When it comes to law enforcement and it comes to our justice systems, you think that it is just as unfair to white people as it is to Black people?
I would say that's a difficult question to answer, because how are we going to measure that? How are we going to measure that statistically? Right. What we can do is we can look.
Here's a way we could do it. We could look at how many white people are walking the street right now who have 50 felonies convictions, and look at how many Black people are walking around with that many felony convictions. And that should tell you one side's not getting treated the same as the other. If one side doesn't have as many people walking around with that many felony convictions,
look at other nations, and we can see that Black populations still disproportionately show up in the crime data. So all of this is just moot when we're talking about the global context. We can look at other nations, like specifically Northern Europe, that really tracks this data, and they find that the Black population, and particularly the migrant population, is still overrepresented in these crimes.
Well, I can give you another study. I can also go to the Brookings Institution, which, by the way, is a very credible institution that has a lot of studies out there that even a lot of people on the right seem to use. They agree that crime rates, they agree with me, by the way, and they disagree with you, that crime rates are primarily driven by systemic issues like income inequality, lack of quality education, food insecurity, rather than race.
No, they also say, well, the studies also show that there's a positive relationship with low IQ and violent crime. If the lower your IQ, the more you commit violent crime.
You think black people have
That's
a lower
true.
IQ than
That
white
is a statistical fact. It
Where
is
you
a
get that
statistical
from?
fact.
What statistic and what study says that black people have a lower IQ?
Are
than
you kidding
white
me?
people?
Are you serious
Tell
right
me.
now?
Tell me. Give me
What is the average IQ in the continent of Africa?
Why won't you answer my question?
What is the average IQ?
No. I'm not going to play this game, Ben. Okay.
You're asking me to cite a specific study that shows. Okay,
you're claiming and just.
are you seriously contesting?
Ben,
Guys,
yes,
I want everyone to know what he's
Hear me
contesting
out.
right now.
Okay,
He's
well,
contesting whether or not
Ben,
the
I don't know
European population has a higher
Ben.
IQ than the black population.
Okay,
That's
so
what
Ben-
he's asking.
Okay, so
Are you seriously asking me that?
Ben, are you seriously going to be quiet?
This
about
is
the question. Are you
this
gonna
is
let
what
me-
people.
my show.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's very
Go
nice,
ahead.
of you, Ben. Thank you. By the way, I don't even know who you're talking to. So
I'm
Ben,
talking to the audience because I know you're not genuine.
I think
So I'm
you're-
talking to the
I'm
audience.
not genuine. Is that what you
No,
just said? You really
you're
want to
not
go there with me
genuine.
right now?
Well,
Let me
I'm
tell you
saying
something, my friend. No, you're going to shut up now. You're not going to insult me on my own show. Everything I say on the air, everything I do on and off the air is genuine. If you don't believe me, you can ask the guy that the show that you go on, Tim Pool. I don't say things. And by the way, you send me a private message and you tell me, Brian, and it was a very nice message. And you said something along the lines, I don't wish you any ill will.
I don't.
And then you go on social media and you say different things. And let me be very clear. I'm a very genuine person.
Didn't you pretend that you and your dad fought in the military so you could get some stolen valor not too long ago? Like, didn't that just happen recently? What is this dude talking about? He's not genuine. He will say whatever he needs to say. He's a liar. And it's shown to be true because he did not serve in the military at any point.
I have conversations with people that I disagree with. Some people I like, some people I don't like. So don't come on my show and say, Brian, you're not genuine. I offered you the platform to come on here to have a respectful conversation. Obviously, we're going to disagree. I haven't called you any names, and I don't want to call you names. But don't start being condescending with me and not call me genuine, okay? So let's start over, and please don't do that again. So
can I clarify what I mean by not genuine? What I mean is I don't think you're going to change your mind. I think that it doesn't matter what I could bring to the table. I don't think you'd ever change your mind. Whereas
you're wrong. Hold on. I'll give you an example why you're completely wrong. And I talked about this yesterday. I've talked about this for the last year. I called Mehdi Hassan anti-Semitic a couple of years ago. I thought he was way too critical of the Israeli government. I thought he was anti-Semitic. And I did a little bit of research on the Israeli government. I learned, I studied, I've even apologized to callers. And I apologized to Mehdi, and we exchanged some emails with each other. I said, you know what? I was wrong about you. I'm very critical of the Israeli government. I'm very critical of Benjamin Netanyahu.
We'll see.
I'm very critical of what they're doing. I think they played a big role in this war in Iran. I think they played a big role in the war in Iraq under the George W. Bush days. I am very capable of changing my mind on a number of different issues, and this was a big one. And I was wrong.
Okay, so if I show you peer-reviewed data that says that the black population has a lower IQ than the white population, will you change your mind?
At what study is it? I would have to take a look at the study, and I would have to find out. By the way,
Wait a minute. He just told you it was a peer-reviewed study. If he shows you a peer-reviewed study that shows you that it was done properly with the proper protocols, that's the factual information, why won't you change your mind? I thought you just said you would.
plenty of black people I know that are extremely intelligent and accomplished people.
Do you understand? Do you understand how data works and how there's things called outliers? So so an outlier doesn't change the fact that something can be normatively true. Okay, so there in 2005 there was a 30-year study published by Rushton and Jensen that showed that there's a 1 standard deviation IQ gap between the black and white population in the United States. There's been multiple studies throughout the years. There was actually a 2026 meta-analysis that did the same thing and found the same thing to be true.
Rushton and Jensen, I'm sorry, what was the study you said?
Rushton and Jensen, 2005. 30 years of research.
Okay, Rushton and Jensen. I'll take a look at your one study, but I completely disagree.
You want another one?
I'm sure. I mean, I would want to know how many people they studied, how many people they spoke
to. It was a 30-year study.
Okay, how many people did they speak to in 30 years? How many people did they interview? How many IQ tests were done? These are very important questions.
I mean, it's a peer-reviewed study, Brian. You have issues with peer-reviewed studies?
I'm asking you specific questions about the study, which it sounds like you can answer. So let's try.
Can't answer. He just Googled to find the name for you, Brian. You're asking for information that he doesn't just have readily available to hand to you. He had to look it up on Google. He doesn't know all the information just from the Google search. Why would you expect that? Why would you even think you would get that?
this again. In 30 years, you can.
This is sophistry. This is sophistry.
This
is
white
just blatant
supremacy.
sophistry.
This is
Guys,
blatantly
anyone
white
can
supremacy.
fact check.
This is
Anybody
no, no,
can go and
no.
look.
Okay,
Anybody can go and look and see.
I don't want to hear Ben. You're the one making the case. Okay, so let's try this again. You are making the claim that black people.
No, he's answering your question. The question you asked him. He Googled it for you because you're too stupid. So he Googled it for you. Wasn't that nice of him?
People are
Say
not
thank you.
as smart as white people on average.
I'm saying they have a lower IQ.
Which is exactly what that means. So my question to you is,
Sure.
besides just naming a study, which you claim lasted 30 years, my question to you on the study is, how many people did they study? How many black people and white people did they give IQ tests to? It's a very basic question to a claim that you are making, which is, by the way, a very serious claim, and I would consider a very insulting claim. I'm asking you about the study.
You find science to be insulting?
So tell me.